So, cutting off your family is not healing. It absolutely can be necessary and it can be protective. But if you confuse that relief with resolution, then you're probably going to just keep repeating that pattern somewhere else. And that's not bad news. It's actually good news. And that's the part that no one's actually talking about. So I had a client tell me once that I'm done, finished, I'm cutting off my family for good. And she wasn't trying to be dramatic. She had been through a lot of situations that I'm sure a lot of you can relate to. And she was absolutely exhausted. She had tried everything in her toolbox. It was always a repetition of the same arguments, same roles, misunderstandings that kept coming up. They were always like a replay year after year. And she was done. And so she had obviously heard about how you protect your peace and this is how you can take care of yourself. And she watched interviews about estrangement and there's a part of her that felt that that was really powerful and that if she could stand in that place of just distancing herself, that she would find herself again. But here's the interesting thing. When she spoke about it, when she reiterated the circumstances and the relationships and the pattern, her body was activated. She was not calm. Her breath was tight and her jaw was set. Like she was in a place of anxiety. She was not in a place of ease. Now, you may say, well, yeah, if you're cutting off your family, how can you be in a place of ease? But here's the thing. You can be clear about things. You can make decisions that are best for you and healthy from a place that feels centered within yourself. Okay? So when she was that upset physically, I already knew there's something going on and this is not the step that she needs to take next. Not yet. So those statements may have sounded clear, but it wasn't clarity, right? She was being flooded. And being flooded that way is not a good time to make permanent decisions because they feel urgent. Like, I have to do it right now. I got to just get it done and just get it over with. But then you're left with the fallout. And I'm going to share with you what most people actually miss in circumstances like that. First, let me introduce myself. I'm Leezá Steindorf. I'm an international leadership coach and a member of the Forbes Coaches Council. And for decades, I've been helping businesses and individuals around the world to think more clearly, to trust themselves and to trust others, and to take decisive action with strength and integrity, especially when it gets tough. And that's exactly what we're talking about here. So what you usually don't hear, what most people don't get or miss, is that distance and healing are not necessarily synonymous. They can happen. We can take our distance in order to heal. But what distance actually does is it removes exposure. And sometimes that's good. So I'm not going to say you shouldn't do that. I just want to speak about the dynamics. I'm not giving you any advice on what to do, but I'm encouraging you to think about what actions you're taking and why. Okay? So healing, so as I said, distance removes ourselves from that exposure, which can be incredibly healthy. But healing, true healing, resolves the pattern that gave you the impulse to distance yourself in the first place. So an acronym that I use in my teachings is called ROOT, Return, Orient, Open, Thrive. So I'd like to just take you through that because it applies here. So return is returning to yourself. Are you regulated or are you in a reactive stage? Like, is your nervous system calm and are you grounded within yourself? That's the first one. Second one is to orient. Do you know what actually the wounds are? Being specific. And I know especially if there's a long history, you can come up with a whole lot of examples. But there's usually one or two if somebody's behavior is cruel, or if there's dishonesty, or if there's consistent broken promises. What is it that's actually such an issue? And maybe there's more than one, but identify those, orient in that. And then open. Have you communicated that cleanly? I'm sure you've communicated, but have you done it in a way that was structured and fair and separating facts from our narrative around it, and that's not an easy thing to do, and I've got a lot of videos talking about that from the communication aspect, because that's huge and it helps us to orient. And then the last one is thrive. In making this decision, will it help you expand and live more fully and freely, or will you contract? So those are the four facets that you can look at: return, orient, open, thrive. In making a decision to distance yourself, either temporarily or permanently. And as I said, distancing is giving you that lack of exposure, but the healing is not synonymous. You need to create that, work at that, and you can be a part of that in the relationship. So there are moments when distance is absolutely necessary, when there is abuse, when there is chronic harm, when there's absolute refusal of accountability, when somebody will not engage in their own participation in the situation. Then nothing you say or do is going to change that at all. And nonetheless, if you do distance yourself, you still need to do the work that's here, right? This is the only place that we can do the work. But there are also moments when estrangement, distancing ourselves, becomes kind of a sophisticated form of avoidance. Like we've estranged ourselves, but in actuality, we're not dealing with what it is that brought us to that point. Whether we deal with it with the other people or not, dealing with it within ourselves. Because when we avoid it, it actually just keeps that pain alive. It doesn't go away. It just gets kind of anchored within us. So you can ask yourself, are you cutting yourself off from the people that you love because you are clear? Or is it out of reactivity? Like, are you just done with it like my client? Or are you simply tired? You have expressed your needs, you have said it all before, you've gone over and over it, and it seems like it's the same pattern. But let me ask you a question. Have you expressed your needs in a specific and factual, if you will, way, without judgment, without accusation, in such a way that others can hear it? And again, there's a lot of information out there and tools that can help you do that. Have you listened to the other person, like really listened to what's going on with them without defending yourself? And that's not an easy thing to do, but to hear them without rehearsing what you're going to say next, or without getting defensive, but really like, wow, that's how they are perceiving the situation. So when I do mediation, it's so important for me to listen from that place of, how is this person seeing their situation? What is the construct they have created that they're actually operating in? Okay? And last question you can ask is, are you calm enough in this moment to make a decision that is going to be permanent? And if you're not, that's fine. Then just take a break. Don't make any final announcements. And take the time to get clear, to answer some of these questions. Because it's really important to know that boundaries are important, but they're not emotional exits. They're not intended to get away from yourself. They're taking responsibility for your thoughts and your behavior, not for somebody else's feelings. You rein it back in. This is mine. This is how I'm feeling. I own it and I respect it. And I'm asking you to do the same. And I am not responsible for what's going on over on your side. Okay? Those are healthy boundaries. And they are also steady behavioral lines, because you know if that's been crossed, either by the other person or by yourself, you got to pull it back in again. So, distance that you choose from that place of clarity, it may not feel joyful or happy, but there's a grounded calm about it. It's like, yeah, that's what I need to do. You know when it's right. But when you are choosing from that urgency, that's coming from overwhelm. You're just done. It's just too much. I can't do it anymore. So can you hear the difference in the two of those? So the invitation is to choose from that place of quiet groundedness within yourself. and you can bring yourself there. So before you finalize anything, before you make any announcements or internal decisions, write down a conversation that you wish you could have. Not the angry one, and those are okay too. Maybe you want to write one version of that first. But write down a version of the conversation you'd really like to have with this person. And say what you really want to say, what's on your heart. What hurt? What do you need now from them or in general? And what are you willing to offer? What will you bring to the table? And what will happen if nothing changes? So get that out onto paper for yourself. If possible, without judgment, without a big narrative, but just the bones of your experience in a conversation. And then put it aside and wait 2 days. Wait 48 hours, 2 days. And let your nervous system settle. Just let it sit there. It's not going to go away. And then pick it up again. And if after you've done that, written it, let it sit, you come back to it. If distance still feels steady and it doesn't feel charged, then it's likely an aligned decision for yourself. And if it softens, if it feels like I'm not sure if distancing is the solution, if there's still a desire or hope there, then maybe there's some room for structure. And so that's what happened actually with the client that I mentioned. She didn't cut herself off from her family. But what she did do, similar to what I've just suggested to you, she sat, she thought about it, and she made decisions for herself. And we wrote down what are non-negotiables for you. What do you need to have for yourself in order to feel healthy and safe and cared for in this relationship? And so then she designed for herself what kind of conversation she wanted to have, and then she had it. And it wasn't magical and, flowers and harps singing, but it was real and it was fair. And she felt heard. And she was in a place, because she had allowed herself to calm her system, she could hear the other person. And she started to understand how they were seeing things that was causing their behavior in the pattern that they had. So she ended up having a lot of clarity, and what she chose was limited contact. She made her choices about when and under what circumstances she was going to be in contact with them. So it wasn't the end, and it felt a lot more supportive to her to do it that way. So for her, distance was not giving her power. The clarity that she found is what gave her power. So what you can do is move slowly when you're making permanent decisions like this, especially when they're emotionally charged. And there's nothing wrong with those emotions. I'm inviting you to distinguish between reactivity and responsiveness. And reactivity is when you feel overwhelmed and you're done and you're tired and you just want to be done with it. And responsiveness comes from that place of quiet groundedness of this is what feels right to me. Yeah? So power is not in dramatic exits, although sometimes they feel really good, but that's short-lived. It's really you feel your power in steady choices. And that's how you can build your steadiness, is right here. Taking choices, taking time to know what's going on with yourself. Okay? So if you found this useful, go ahead and like and subscribe. Helps other people find it as well. Thank you for listening. Until next time, be well.